Welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about The Neverwhen, written by McEdam. This is the third story, and the ultimate story, in the second box set of the War Doctor Adventures, Infernal Devices, in which each story tackles the Doctor finding and tracking down a weapon of mass destruction throughout the Time War. This concludes the box set. Now, as you probably are aware after watching my previous videos on stories on the box set, Legion of the Lost and A Thing with Guilt, those stories I have a huge appraisal for and were highly rated by me alone. So this story, I was kind of nervous going into it because this would be the conclusion of that box set, and if this story is a dud, then that would be a very, very disappointing aspect to the box set. However, if this was a good or even a great story, then I can really recommend this as easily one of my favourite Big Finish audio box sets that I've ever had the privilege to carry. So, does this story hold up? Well, we'll talk about that when we actually talk about the story itself. Now, the thing I want to note as well is the fact of the Neverwhen narrative itself. Now, I could be mistaken, but I believe the Neverwhen itself was actually mentioned by the 10th Doctor in either the Stolen Earth or at the End of Time. One of those two stories where he mentions like all the evil of the Time War and how bad things have gotten, and the Neverwhen was one of those mentions. So this is actually, if I'm correct, I could be mistaken. If I am correct, this could be one of those few times in which a little reference in a new series episode is actually retroactively a callback to a previous story, or in real life chronological sense in a future story. So that is the Neverwhen's setting up. There's not really much to talk about it other than that, so let's go on to the covers. As I've stated in the previous videos, in the box set Infernal Devices, I absolutely love every artwork to do with this box set. The first one had like a fiery thing going on. The other one had a deep blue watery thing going on. And here we've got, it's like a yellow meshes with some greens. It's coming off as a little bit grey on the screen there, which is really disappointing. But it gives it the much more natural, but also as well alien appeal to it. You've got that is just stunning. I like how they got all this clock stuff in the background, and you've got these soldiers and the Daleks. Just a very great looking cover. And like always with these Big Finish CD covers, I've printed out my own DVD cover, which I've actually put together myself, or at least I put together to myself. And it's another one where I've got the face pointing out, and you can't really tell, but the TARDIS is also pointing out as well. So the artwork is looks a lot more professional than previous DVD covers that I've created. One thing I'd let it down, which I need to rectify, is because I was using a darker colour here, I decided to change the font on this from white to black, and now looking on it on the cover, it didn't really come off very well, so I need to rectify that. Here's the spine, if anyone is interested. Very cool, with Yonha as the War Doctor. Very good. Just before filming this, I actually found a clip of him reading out a scene from Alice in Wonderland, the book, which was just absolutely fantastic. That guy can just read the newspaper for an hour and a half and make it sound like the most interesting thing that you will ever hear. And here is the back. So we've looked at the covers, we've looked at the setup of the Neverwhen, but does this story hold up from the previous two stories and conclude the second box set in a nice and decent manner? Now let's find out as we talk about the narrative. So, the story starts off from the conclusion of the previous story with the Doctor on the run from the Time Lords as Alistria tries to has just lost her control over the Doctor, essentially. However, the Doctor falls into a causal nexus, the Neverwhen nexus. Or at least he doesn't know this at the time, he just feels like he's crashed onto another planet. And it turns out Alistria has actually orchestrated this whole thing. She had planned the Doctor to run from the Time Lords so fast and in this particular direction, but it actually crash-landed him in a particular area of the Time War. And so Alistria has gone into a battle TARDIS to follow the Doctor because the gateway to the Neverwhen was actually caused when the Doctor's TARDIS, a specific type of TARDIS, broke through the barrier, allowing for normal space and time to enter into this causal nexus. However, things are not natural in this time, in this small little nexus of chronological timing. This is a small little segment where it turns out, well, the Doctor saves this girl at the start. Like many characters, which is kind of getting a bit repetitive, but it's still a very nice little detail, is the Doctor saves a young woman who is very new to war in a sense, but also is basically forced upon this war. And the Doctor befriends her, first helping her with her wounds, and then carrying her to her base, where she meets all the other soldiers who are clearly fighting in a war. We don't really know until a little bit later on that these are soldiers in the Time War. They are fighting in the Time War. They mention the Time War, they mention Daleks and Time Lords and how the war is raging on. And the story is very well handled in terms of keeping up its mystery, its small little causal nexus. Alistria goes to the Time Lord base of the causal nexus, and when she asks to meet their leader, one of the soldiers proclaims that he just died, but he'll be with you shortly. When Alistria's like, well, that's dedication to the cause for you right there. And on each side of the story, it basically plays from like 2 points of view, Alistria and the War Doctor. And so they both learn basically in this causal nexus, time is a very messed up and in flux. Not only do everybody who dies here gets resurrected and gets brought to life almost immediately, but also as well, timeline keeps on flexing through their evolution. So one moment they could be cavemen-like with bows and arrows, and next moments they could have nuclear bombs. Next moments they can be primordial ooze, and then the next moment they can be the highest Time Lords evolved and the most deadly Daleks. And we find out that the people who have stayed there for too long, they can almost feel it. And these things don't actually affect the Doctor yet, or Alistria, because they've just arrived and the causal nexus hasn't taken effect. Although the Doctor predicts that staying here for too long and he could get caught up, he could, his normal space self could be eroded and get caught up in this causal nexus and will forever be stuck in this Neverwhen. However, the Doctor is very optimistic. He feels like that there should be a way out. They just need to find the core of this timeline, a newly devised timeline created by Engine Source, one of the infernal devices in here that's causing all this mass thing where people die and they remember every time they die. And the Doctor suspects that the Daleks have it. So he asks some of the soldiers to help him to get to the other side in the vain hope to get back to his TARDIS, which he believes is on the other side of the border, with the enemy and behind the enemy lines. And so with his TARDIS he could find this causal engine and fix everything. And so they all band together, a small group of them band together and go off. There's a really great moment where the Doctor's talking to the General and he's like, you believe me, you will just accept me on my word. And this General is like, well, in this place I will die literally immediately if you fail. And then I will know where I've gone wrong and I will kill you. And I can kill you over and over and over again. Lystria in the Time Lord base also tracks down the TARDIS, which seems to be on the border, and she orders a few Time Lord soldiers to arrive in this little area in the vain hopes that the Doctor will appear, and she states that he is the greatest hero. If there's anybody who's going to stop the Daleks, it will be him. He is the greatest weapon in Time Lord history. So essentially, the Doctor could be counted as one of the infernal devices. So now here we get into spoiler territory, because we're going to get into this really big twist in this story. So when the Doctor is going into the battlefield, the Doctor is told by the others that they can start feeling the evolution, this wave of their evolutionary state impacting them, and they're about to change again. And the Doctor's running around and he sees soldiers on the other side and is desperate to get to his TARDIS, when all of a sudden Daleks appear, but not in front of them, from behind. And the Doctor is confused. It's like, how did the Daleks get behind us? You're a primitive form of Gallifrey, and you're not that stupid, you're not that dumb. And the other soldiers is like, wait, what the hell are you on about? As the soldiers around the Doctor starts transforming. And the Doctor realizes he's on the other side of the border. He is on enemy lines. He's not working with Gallifreyans. He's working with the Daleks, or the Khaleds in their human form. And now they've transformed into Daleks. Whilst on the other end, the Time Lords have gone into level 2 society, meaning that they are essentially just above basically the medieval times for Time Lords. And they know that they are going to get absolutely massacred. So the Doctor sneaks onto the other side of the border and takes a futuristic Time Lord vehicle, which didn't get changed by the Neverwhen's causal nexus. This giant spider vehicle, and helps the primitive Time Lords, Gallifreyans, across the border to find their base of operations in a vain hope to save some of them, whilst the Daleks are overpowerful and got these weapons of mass destruction and can fly. But the Doctor does his best to save as many people as he can. It's here where he gets reintroduced to Lystria, who proclaims that she seems to have mislaid the people, that the soldiers of the Time Lords. She seems to have been given them hope that they can somehow escape through this endless timeline of just constantly dying and rebirth and changing form constantly. But it turns out that the causal nexus is like this poison that traps you there, and all these people who are there are basically infected, and if they were allowed into real space, into real time, then they would cause mass havoc throughout the timelines. This first half is such a gripping experience. You've got this massive twist, which changes basically everything about the story, because the Doctor originally thought he was either A, working for the Time Lords, or B, working for an ally of the Time Lords, not realising that he was actually working with the Daleks. And he gets to see him in a slightly different light, as in this time, he can actually reason with the Khalids. He kind of sees a way out for him of being the warrior and can go back as the Doctor in a sense. This is a place where peace between the two races could actually finally be made. And Alistria basically comes out with her whole plan, her whole strategy. She has the Atoma device, the device that can change people's perspectives on their allies from a thing of guilt. And she planned to use this device with the weapon that the Doctor was tracking down at the start of Legions of the Lost and their resurrection, to basically find a way so they can go back in time and just erase the Daleks' history and turn them against each other at every single point in their timeline. And with the Neverwhen, it's such a powerful alternative from all the weapons that we learnt in the Legion of the Lost, that it turns out that the Neverwhen was actually created by the same people who created time lock technology. In a sense, the Neverwhen is not affected by time locks and can change time even when they're time locked, making it probably one of the greatest devices in the Time War. And Alistria plans to use both devices to basically cause mass havoc in the Daleks' timeline, to the point where they won't even be able to evolve. They would die as soon as they get the chance to get into their metal tanks, in a sense. This is a very interesting premise, especially how, if you remember in A Thing of Guilt, I mentioned that one of my, it's not really a criticism but a nitpick, was that the Time Lords were surprised that Daleks could even have factions that go up against each other. And I stated that as an audience, we know for a fact that there has been multiple factions. Now, this story, in my headcanon, kind of implies that this weapon could have been used to some small degree, and that's how we have the factions in previous stories from the Doctor's point of view. Kind of interesting, isn't it? So the Doctor is taken with Alistria, as Alistria has as the Doctor's been wearing this shock collar from the previous story, A Thing of Guilt. The Doctor thought he had destroyed the only control, but Alistria actually had a backup to get the Doctor to do what she wanted. And so she plans to get the engine of the Nexus and get the Doctor to smaller its parameters so they can get the core sense of this Nexus, and they can use it as a weapon, as a thing to be thrown out into normal space. And the Doctor pretends that he is haunted by this, and he alters it. But he alters it in a particular way, as when they go back into the battlefield, Alistria is confused, as there's no bonfire, there's no screaming, there's not even a single sign of fighting. In fact, everybody, Khalid and Gallifreyans alike, seem to be lasting in peace. And the Doctor is absolutely cheerful by this. He's loving it. In fact, there's a great moment in which he just asks somebody what they're looking for. He's like, something a bit so high, and they tell him, oh, it's just up the mountains. And the Doctor turns to Alistria, it's like, see, we can even take our time. There's no rush anymore. And this gives the War Doctor so much hope, so much empathy that you can hear in John Hurt's voice how happy, how thrilled he is. This could be the chance, this could be a small glimmer of hope of resurrecting the Doctor. This could be the return of the Doctor in name. But doesn't always seem... But don't we all know that the Doctor is still the warrior during the end of the Time War? We know what happens. So fate is not on his side. As Alistria realises, whilst looking at the eyes of one of the people that... one of the villagers, that there's something angry in his eyes, something pure hatred in his eyes. As we start hearing conflict slowly but surely breaking out again, as characters are like, no, I must hate, I must protect my own, we need all the resources, we will kill and we will destroy all of our enemies. And the Doctor's begging, he's pleading, it's like, no, we have a chance here, we have hope, you have the resources and the responsibility to finally make peace, to stop fighting, please! But there is no hope, no chance. So the Doctor and Alistria go to the core, where Alistria takes it and puts it into the Doctor's TARDIS, ready to use it. And we get a great little moment between the two characters, as Alistria is kind of bragging in a sense. She is like, look at you, you call yourself, you say you're not the Doctor anymore, but I've just seen him, one who tries to glimmer hope and does his best to save as many people, but that man is dead, that man is no more. There's, you are a soldier, first and foremost. And the Doctor is like, you're right, I was foolish, I had a hope of being the Doctor again, but no, there was no hope, there was no chance, I was fooling myself. Until the Doctor starts destroying the Nexus, killing everybody in the timeline, destroying the device once and for all, as Alistria gets so angry she starts using the shock collar so much that the Doctor's basically agonising in pain. And Alistria's like, you fool, stop pretending you're the Doctor still. You're a warrior now. Stop being a foolish. You deserve to have this massive punishment. I mean, this conversation gets to a point where Alistria considers killing the warrior, the Doctor, Prisoner 101, wherever he goes by now. But she kind of realises that this war is haunting him. Death is something that he wants. Death is an escape for him. He's kind of a way in this time war been pushing people to kill him. Something that we've seen during the thing of guilt, the Innocent, the 1,000 Worlds, and the Heart of the Battle. I can't remember if we hear much about it in the Legion of the Lost. Yeah, Legion of the Lost, because he mentions how death is his only way of peace, or at least he mentions that for some people it's a way of peace. And that here, Alistria is like, your punishment will be to live, to continue fighting, to continue doing your service. You might still think you're the Doctor, you might still destroy all the greatest weapons the Time Lords have, but you still fight for the Time War, you still fight against the Daleks. Your punishment is to live and survive and fight through this war. As the Doctor runs off again and proclaims that if he finds a single hope, a single chance to end this war, even if it means the destructions of everyone, he will do it. He will take that chance. He no longer sees any hope in being the Doctor anymore. He has gone full cadaver. And that's the end of the Neverwhen. 2 stories. We had 2 great stories. Here, we get to finish that amazing conclusion to the box set. This story, along with the other 2, are well worth buying separately, but the fact they all come in a nice packaged box set is just phenomenal. And the chances of 3 so amazing stories all packed together is so amazing. I would even recommend saying that start off with this one. The other box set is great, but this one is far superior, and not only that, but it's also something you can listen to stand alone. You don't need the context of the previous box sets to get into this one. Each story is its own single thing, so each of them feel compact and impelling, and have each story to tell and ways to make comments on the war and the soldiers, and basically self-misery and self-hatred. And it's just such a great impact and such a great way to have, and this is the reason. Infernal Devices is probably my favourite buy from Big Finish, and it is easily why John Hurt as the War Doctor, the 9th Doctor, is one of my favourite incarnations of the Time Lord. So there you go, that's the Neverwhen and Infernal Devices. So join me next time when we start a brand new box set, which, as far as this video is concerned, I haven't listened to yet, so this will be exciting for me as well. So join me next time for the Shadow Vortex. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!